time, if you've been going around getting stuff done outdoors, you had to get things done earlier today, so be it. Do not leave now. I mean, from now until 9 o'clock, not only are you going to have 45, 50, 55-mile-an-hour winds, you're going to have flooding, you're going to have incredibly low visibility trying to drive. You're going to have a few crazy people going in and out at 60 miles an hour because that's what they do, making it even more difficult. So, I mean, I'm just telling you, at this point in time for the next 4 hours, do everything humanly possible to not go anywhere. The green box here, this is a flash flood warning, all right? So this is Manatee and Sarasota County. This area right here is seeing incredibly high rainfall totals. I mean, this is what we were expecting with this storm. When these bands come through, rain is obviously the biggest issue, and we are already getting, when you see a flash flood warning, that's different from a flood warning. Often flood warnings happen along rivers, a gentle rise in terms of water over days on end, even after a storm leaves. A flash flood warning means there is flooding going on right now, the kind of flooding that you would never want to drive your car into, the kind of flooding that you could see knee-deep or thigh-high water in certain areas. So we're going to get a little more information on this in a minute or two. I'm going to go over and check it because this was just issued. And obviously, this one right here, this is not one, but actually 2 tornado warnings. Now, these are radar signatures of the tornado. I will tell you, we've had about 6 or 7 warnings so far today. They have been radar indicated, and they have all been funnel clouds or radar where we have yet to see anything actually make it down to the ground. Let's hope it stays that way, but it is very, very common to have a tornado warning. In fact, it's really the norm during a tropical system as it comes by, because there's so much spin out there. It makes sense. If there's spin going on with the storm, there will be smaller spins, little vortices that can develop little tornadoes. And again, we will take a look at this coming up in just a minute. I will take another closer look and see what the threat level is on that. But if you look at all of the heavy rain across Hillsborough and Pinellas County, again, from now until 9 o'clock, there will be plenty of spots that are going to pick up 4 to 6 inches of rain. I mean, think about it in the summertime. Look, in the middle of the afternoon thunderstorms, if you had a big storm over you, you can get 3 or 4 inches of rain. So there's nothing unusual about it, except for this one is a thunderstorm that can last for 6 to 8 hours. So you kind of see what we're saying here. There is just significant rain. There's the center right now, and there's all the action going on down in Sarasota, Manatee, and southern counties, and it's all moving north. So these bands will continue to move off to the north and west. All right, so rainfall over the last 24 hours, obviously very high numbers that are only going to go up from here. This is rainfall, 4 to 5 inches of rain across coastal Sarasota and Manatee, 3 to 4 across inland areas. Pinellas, Hillsborough, and Polk County, about the same setup, not quite as much, but still anywhere from 2.5 to 4.5 inches of rain. And that's not even, again, that's not even nearly the worst of it. The worst of it, the heaviest rain is coming through now until, 10 o'clock-ish. Not as much across the northern counties because it's not there yet, but it will be. And they're also going to get some more wind. Now, one thing you may have also noticed is the winds are really increasing in Pinellas and Hillsborough and Pasco and Manatee over the last hour. Again, a lot of reports of power outages with that wind. Still a tropical storm warning, still a hurricane warning, still winds of 65 miles an hour. This has not gotten any stronger in the last 6 hours. I was noting during DPL, we did a DPL around 3 o'clock, that we were getting some drier air coming in a little bit, and that's helping to maybe limit the amount of intensity with this. We still have a storm surge warning. I want to mention this briefly to you. I've been saying it throughout the day. You may have missed it. I'm sure a lot of folks in Pasco, Pinellas, and Manatee started freaking out at noon when you got that alert in your phone. Beep, beep, beep. I mean, really loud beeping. Extremely urgent storm surge warning, right? I mean, it gets your attention. Well, first of all, a storm surge warning is only where storm surge occurs, which is on the water. It is not because of flooding in terms of rainfall. Nothing to do with rainfall. It's purely water coming in off the Gulf. And areas that surge, and you know the areas after Ada and after many other storms after Idalia, it can be a real concern. But what I want to remind you, when you hear the numbers that come out, all right, these numbers that are issued by the Hurricane Center, by definition, those numbers are the most reasonable worst case scenario. that is what they issue, the most reasonable worst case scenario. And the reason they do it, obviously, is because they want you to know what the worst it can be. A lot of times it's not the worst case scenario. Sometimes it is. You got to know so you're prepared for the worst, but more often than not, it isn't. So when you see numbers like this, just remember that's as high as it could be, but more often than not, it isn't quite that high. So keep that in mind when you hear those numbers. There's the flood watch that remains in effect across the entire area. Again, the center expected to move onshore as a hurricane in the Big Bend area tomorrow morning around 8 o'clock. Still forecast between somewhere around 85 and 95 miles an hour, which would still keep it as a Cat 1 hurricane. It could be a little stronger, it's possible, but at this point, still 65 miles an hour. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to go check that tornado warning. If I need to get back on because I think the threat is significant, I'll jump right back in. But until then, let's go back to Nadine.